Hello, Book 2. The Inconsistent Reader here with our final section of the Testaments, the 13th Symposium. Now, this section starts off letting us know right off the bat that this is just a partial transcript of said events. And this is the 13th Symposium of Gilead Studies, and the year is 2197. The place they are is a university in what used to be known as the state of Maine. Maine not only being a jumping off point for Gilead Fugees, but also had ties to the Underground Railroad 300 years prior. End I quote. As they say, history does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. The chairman and president of the university thanked everyone in attendance. She was glad to hear the interest in Gilead studies and their organization was growing as of late. And I quote, "We must continue to remind ourselves of the wrong turnings taken in the past, so that we do not repeat them." She tells them that there are tours of Gilead available, as well as a costume reenactment day for those who are interested. She then introduces the keynote speaker, Director of 20th and 21st Century Archives at the Cambridge University in England. He comes up and he congratulates the president on her promotion, which he jokes would never have happened in Gilead. And I quote, "Now that women are usurping leadership positions to such a terrifying extent, I hope you will not be too severe on me." He then apologizes for some jokes he made in poor taste last year, and he tells them he'll try not to reoffend. And apparently at this point, Gilead Studies has had a resurgence in interest in the last few years. Before this, Gilead Studies were neglected for decades, except by a dedicated few, of course. The interest was probably because they found some tapes behind a false wall in a footlocker. The tapes are diaries of a sort, by someone named Offred, or as we know her, June. Not only that, but there were two more discoveries found. The Ardua Hall holograph by Aunt Lydia was found. Remember, she had hidden the pages in an old book by Cardinal Newman entitled Apologia Pro Vita Sua. Now, this book was auctioned off to some rich guy, which then was inherited by his nephew, who of course just sold all of them to some antiques dealer. Now, this dealer knew there was probably some historical significance, and so he brought it to them, to the director. And I quote, "The Ardua Hall holograph claims to have been composed by a certain Aunt Lydia, who features somewhat unflatteringly in the series of tapes discovered in the footlocker." Well, yeah, June and Lydia didn't have the best relationship, and June definitely had no idea how deep undercover Lydia really was. And I quote, "The Lydia personage is referenced in several debriefings of deep cover Mayday agents as having been both ruthless and cunning. As we know, they don't really have any proof, though, that Lydia really existed. She's not in any of the televised footage they have recovered. There are two small things that they found that may prove she was real. They found her very defaced and messed up statue, and in the rubble of the school there was a framed picture with her name handwritten on the back. They still wonder, though, if her diary is a forgery. Not a new one, but one written in Gilead times, maybe by one of her enemies, Vidala perhaps. The speaker, however, believes it's authentic, and it is known as fact that someone within Ardua Hall put the microdot in Nicole's arm. Also, the girls themselves said it was Aunt Lydia. Some scholars think they're just trying to keep their source a secret. Now, there's an argument to be made that Nicole was far too young for such a mission, but many other historians will point out that many a young person has been used for many a spy mission throughout all of history. Now, when the girls successfully got the information out there, there was a great purge in Gilead. In turn, it weakened their regime, not to mention started a coup, and made the people revolt as well. All of this infighting allowed outside forces to come in and tear it down. Anyway, the transcripts of the girls, however, was not found for some time, possibly because they were in a file labeled Annals of the Nellie J. Banks, Two Adventurers. Really, guys? This is what it was labeled? No wonder they couldn't find it. It sure doesn't sound like significant or important pieces of history. It sounds like someone's attempt at a novel. So apparently, one of the university's grad students, a female, was looking for something to use as her thesis, and she luckily stumbled onto these testimonies. I find it kind of notable because, remember, that's how Lydia pictured her writings being found. Anyway, the grad student took the writings to the speaker for evaluation, and I quote, "I was very excited by it. Since first-hand narratives from Gilead are vanishingly rare, especially any concerning the lives of girls and women, it is hard for those deprived of literacy to leave such records." He said sadly, the texts are not dated, though. Then he jokes, "If anyone has this kind of escapade in the future, to please think of us historians and at least put down the month and the year." And he gets a good laugh from the audience. His research team interviewed an old lady who claimed her father used to transport people from Gilead, mostly women, and she gifted them his map. She told them they had come just in time because she was about to throw all that stuff away. And when the research team got to the house the girls stayed in while recuperating, they noticed some carvings. In the windowsill were some initials, an N, an A, a G, and a V. Then there were also the initials AL carved in there as well. They don't seem to have any definitive proof of who their mother was, and I quote, "We have not definitively excluded this individual as author of the Handmaid's Tale tapes found in the footlocker." They don't know that June is not only the author of the Handmaid's Tale tapes, but mother of Agnes and Nicole, or Hannah and Nicole. But since they're not 100, he said they'd leave it to the scholars of the future to figure out who their mother was. He started to wrap up this symposium, and he lets everyone know, since they attended this symposium, they can claim their copy of the materials that have been covered today. The Ardua Hall holograph, the offered tapes, and the girls' testimonies. He shows them one more slideshow about a statue built in Boston. The inscription on the statue goes a long way to make the girls' testimonies ring true. The statue is of a pearl girl. She is holding some forget-me-nots, and there are two doves on her right shoulder. The book ends with the inscription that is on the statue. And I quote, "In loving memory of Becca, Aunt Immortelle, this memorial was erected by her sisters, Agnes and Nicole, and their mother, their two fathers, their children, and their grandchildren, and in recognition of the invaluable services provided by A.L. A bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. Love is as strong as death." And that's it. That's the end of the Testaments. That's the end of Gilead. Yay! We made it! What did y'all think? Did you enjoy this book? Did you enjoy my in-depth review of this book? I do have a few books in mind for my next one, but I can't decide which one. So here are the candidates. So I have three books I'm thinking about. For my next project, and they're all pretty different. And well, two of them are kind of crime, and one's like historical fiction, I guess. Two are written by men, and one is written by a woman. And I will show you the book, and then we'll go over what it's about. So the first book I have up for reading is Elmore Leonard's Rum Punch. Now this is the book that Jackie Brown is based on. I will read you the synopsis on the back. Pretty working girl Jackie Burke is in a tight spot. She's just been picked up at Palm Beach International with 50 grand and some blow stashed in her flight bag. Lucky for her, the feds want something Jackie's got. The inside track to Ordell Roby, the notoriously slick arms dealer. And they're ready to deal. Ordell in exchange for her freedom. But Jackie's got another ace up her sleeve. Enter Max Cherry, bail bondsman. Big, tough, basically decent. Max is on the verge of divorce and tired of the same old grind. That's where Jackie comes in. The 50 big ones are peanuts compared to what Ordell's got locked away in Freeport. But when a blowsy blonde blowhead and a none-too-bright ex-con try to muscle in on the action, it's time to pull off the old bait-and-switch, where the good guys are played off against the bad guys, and where Jackie and Max hope to walk off into the Florida sunset with a hot $500,000 in cold cash. Okay, so that's the first selection. The next one is Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. This book is about H.H. Holmes and the building of the World's Fair. So on the back it says, bringing Chicago circa 1893 to vivid life, Erik Larson's spellbinding bestseller intertwines the true tale of two men, the brilliant architect behind the legendary 1893 World's Fair, striving to secure America's place in the world, and the cunning serial killer who used the fair to lure his victims to their deaths. Combining meticulous research with nail-biting storytelling, Erik Larson has crafted a narrative with all the wonder of newly discovered history and the thrills of the best fiction. Now, to be fair, I have read some of this already, and then I lost my book. So I don't have any idea where I am, and I didn't finish it, so I'm fine with starting over. But I really did enjoy this book. I know it sounds kind of silly, like you're about the architect of building the World's Fair, but it was actually pretty interesting. And last but not least, we have The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova? I don't know. But this is about, well, it's not about, but Dracula's in it. Okay, so it's about that kind of. Breathtaking, suspenseful, and beautifully written, The Historian is a story of a young woman plunged into a labyrinth where the secrets of her family's past connect to an inconceivable evil, the dark 15th century reign of Vlad the Impaler, and a time-defying pact that may have kept his awful work alive through the ages. The search for the truth becomes an adventure of monumental proportions, taking us from monasteries and dusty libraries to the capitals of Eastern Europe, in a feat of storytelling so rich, so hypnotic, so exciting, that it has enthralled readers around the world. Alright, so those are our choices. We got Rum Punch, Devil in the City, or The Historian. So let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see me read, and if I don't get a response, which I don't figure I will with my small subscribers right now, I will have to choose one on my own. Yeah. Choose one on my own. Won't I? Anyway, if you made it to the end of this review with me, thank you. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend with me on this in-depth review of the Testaments. As always, I am the inconsistent reader, and don't forget to always make good choices. Bye.